pretty close to 8 o'clock on my time. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and has a nice cup of coffee or something to get them going this morning. We're in our, I guess this is our second virtual Up and Atom, and thank you all for joining us. We hope that we will soon get back to doing face-to-face, but in the meantime, I think this is a great way for us to keep up to date on some of the great things that are going on at the site and around us. So without any further, I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Today's speaker is Phil Breidenbach. As Savannah River Remediation President and Project Manager and Momentum Group Vice President, Phil oversees a complex integrated set of Savannah River Site liquid waste facilities that are connected to virtually every SRS mission that involves nuclear materials. He has more than 30 years of experience in operations and project management at nuclear facilities. Prior to his position as project manager at SRR, he was the chief engineer responsible for managing, planning, and integrating all the engineering services for the liquid waste project. And prior to that, he was the president and project manager of Nuclear Waste Partnership at WIP. And in this role, he led the successful restart of WIP after the 3-year shutdown. Prior to his position there, he worked at the Idaho National Laboratory in the Materials and Fuel Complex. And before going to Idaho, he was here at Savannah River, and that's where he began his career in both environmental safety and health, and also in H area facilities, F area facilities, and also tritium facilities. And I think it was way back when that he was in his tritium facility days that I got to know Phil a little bit. His education background is that he has a bachelor's degree in metallurgical engineering from the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Phil and let him give us a rundown of all the good things that SRR did in 2020.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that introduction. And I have to say that after working here for 20 years at the beginning of my career, it was certainly a good day when my wife and I got to move back down here and start working on with SRR on the high level waste program. If we go to slide 2, over all of those years of managing high hazard nuclear facilities, I developed a management philosophy, and it starts with constantly communicating a compelling mission to all of the employees. People want to know why they're getting out of bed every morning, and that really starts with the mission. And there's nothing easier than to communicate a compelling mission when you work at SRR. Our job is to eliminate the most significant environmental hazard in the state of South Carolina. It's not to store it. It's not to monitor it. It's not to move it around and play with it. It's to eliminate it. That's our job, and that's what we do. And when we have good days, we know that we've progressed toward that. It's also important that you have a clear set of values, expectations, and standards that guide how the work is conducted. And at SRR, we certainly have that. We have 5 values, and they're extremely important to me. These are more than words on a page. It's more than a poster on the wall. We work every day to make sure our people understand these values and expectations, understand what they mean, and that they guide our behavior, so that when things get tough, and sometimes they do, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and an operator is wondering which direction do I go, that these values and expectations shine a bright light down the right path. The words are simple. The concepts are easy to understand, but they're very hard to implement all the time, every time. Integrity, tell the truth all the time. That's what we're about. It's in the center of our values because it supports every other value. On the top of integrity is safety. You don't get to do this work. You don't get to complete your mission unless you can do it safely. We know that, and we strive for that every single day. To the left and right of integrity are teamwork and ownership. Teamwork, because this is complex work. It's very difficult, and no one does anything alone. It always takes a team in order to accomplish anything significant. And ownership, we want owners. We want people that own their work, that treat it as if it's theirs, their facility, their procedure. That's what we strive for. And all of that sits over the top of a foundation of continuous improvement. I call that the foundation of our foundation. Make something better every single day. The thing that ties this mission and these values together is our vision. And it's a four-part vision. It starts with, we will safely improve the world. And I know that sounds lofty, and some people would even say it's arrogant. It's not when you look at our mission. This is all about our mission. We are going to eliminate the most significant environmental hazard in the state of South Carolina. And when we do that, we will have made South Carolina better. We will have made the United States better. We will have made the world a better place. We will strive to be event-free, but we will learn from mistakes. Events are not tolerated in our business. When I talk about events, I'm talking about things like Chernobyl, Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, WIP, okay? Those are not acceptable, and we cannot tolerate having those kinds of events. Yet we're humans. We're 2,600 humans that work at SRR, and we make mistakes every day. And so our job is to learn from those mistakes, catch them when they're small so that they don't become events. We will be proud of both what we do and how we do it. What we do is easy. That's our mission. How we do it, well, that's defined by our values and expectations. Both matter. The ends don't justify the means in our business. You have to do it in a certain way. And if you do it that way, if you do it with integrity, with safety, if you do it in accordance with that values and expectations, you will finish your mission. That's what we're all about. And lastly, I want every person to come to work knowing that they are going to be valued, and to go home knowing that they did something wonderful. That's really, in the end, what I believe we all want. I know when I go home, when someone significant, one of my significant others, okay, asks me, what'd you do today? I just want to say something meaningful, that I spent my time well, and that we made progress. That's our vision. Just to go over a little, if you go to slide 3, from a contract perspective, who we are, we're an LLC, a limited liability company that's composed of several parent companies. It's Amentum-led. And then Bechtel, Jacobs, BWXT are part of our company. They're our partners. In addition, we have teaming subcontractors, Arano, Adkins, and AECOM. We started work in 2009, and we just recently got our 5th contract extension on September, which is going to cover us on this contract through September 30 of 2021. In addition, as part of that extension, there are 3 4-month option periods that DOE could choose to exercise. We want to do this mission. We're stand ready to stay as long as we are needed, and we look forward to making progress for whatever time we're here. DOE just recently did issue a request for proposal, an RFP, on the new integrated mission completion contract, and that was just issued last week. We have 2,600 employees that work every day progressing our mission, and we're excited to do it. If we go to the next slide 4, we'll talk a little bit about safety. Safety is a value. It's at the top of our values drawing. We have a strong nuclear safety culture, and that's driven by our values and expectations. our safety record is really exceptional. Since I started working here in the early 80s or in the mid 80s, I started working for DuPont, and I think it's that DuPont legacy, their care for safety, that still extends into our missions today. We talk a lot about safety statistics, millions of hours without injuries and all that. I want to put that in perspective. Our construction force has gone over 32 million hours since their last lost workday case. If we were the average construction workforce, just average, not bad, average, over that time period, there would have been 190 injuries. 190. That means that by being exceptional, frankly, being world-class in safety, we've avoided 190 injuries. Every one of those injuries, every one of those people that would have been injured, there's a face and a name. They are teammates of ours. We take that very seriously, and we're proud of that success. We get a lot of recognition for our safety program, and that's a wonderful thing. We appreciate that, but it's the people not getting hurt that drives us every single day. Go to the next slide, slide 5. 2020 sent us a lot of curveballs, and the biggest curve was COVID-19. It was a hell of a pitch, we've progressed through that. It started by creating a playbook. We had to write it. It's a pandemic. They're all slightly different. And so we had to write the new set of rules that we would follow. And we did that. And as a result of that, we put in place many controls that you've heard all about. And many of you are putting those controls in your businesses also, whether it's fitness for duty checks and sanitization stations and social distancing and wearing face coverings and all of that kind of stuff. We've got that all in place. And we now have those controls have matured. We work hard to make sure that they're rigorously implemented every single day and protecting our workers so that we have a safe place for them. As a result of that, we recently brought back our higher risk workers. They're back on site, and we're getting ready to bring back groups of teleworkers, people who have been teleworking full time. They're effectively teleworking, but it's not the same as when we're a team. And you can't play the game if you're not all on the same floor. So we're starting to put the plans in place to bring back some of those teleworkers also. If you go to the next slide, slide 6, our job really centers, this is a complicated graphic, but it really does show our entire mission. Our job is to take a hazardous radioactive liquid and convert it into two non-hazardous radioactive solids, solids that are safe, that are well protected, that'll never hurt the environment, and that won't hurt people. That's a big deal. It all starts down at the bottom left at H Canyon and F Canyon. Earlier in my career, I managed both of those facilities as either a facility manager or an area manager. I did my part to create the waste that went into these waste tanks. And it's a kind of a twist of fate that proves that God has a sense of humor, that I'm now cleaning up my own mess. So that's how it goes. But it starts with putting waste in those waste tanks. We have a lot of that, millions of gallons of that waste. It gets processed in a couple different ways. The salt solution, the liquid, if you will, what you would recognize as liquid, has been treated historically through ARP and MCU. That facility was shut down. It was first replaced by Ticker, which I'll talk about here in a little more detail. And more importantly now, SWPF is coming online, and it will do that mission of treating all that liquid waste. The highly radioactive materials go toward DWPF, the Defense Waste Processing Facility. And at that facility, basically we take those liquids and we convert it into glass. And that's stored in our glass waste storage buildings, awaiting future disposition at a federal repository. The other material, the less radioactive material, it ends up going to saltstone, where we mix it with grout material and put it into saltstone disposal units, these large containers where it will safely sit and never hurt the environment again. So that's what we do. Next slide kind of gets into a bit of how we do it. All of the facilities, and it's many facilities that it takes to actually complete this mission. You can think about each one of them as a gear. They're highly integrated with each other, and they all have to turn in order for the mission to progress. When one gear stops, they all stop. They're that integrated. When one gear goes faster, all the rest have to go faster in order for the mission to progress. And whereas we used to have ARP MCU as one of those gears, it's been replaced. It's been replaced by SWPF. SWPF is a much bigger gear. It can process the material 5 to 10 times faster than what ARP or MCU could be. So SWPF, when it's at those rates, all the rest of the gears have to turn faster. And we've been working hard to get ready to do that over the last 15 years, and we're ready. You got to do it with people. On slide 8 is all about people. And it's interesting that in the early late 1950s, in the 1950s, the site started up and they hired their first workforce, if you will. And they worked through and started the plants up and ran the plants. And about 35 years later, in the mid 1980s, many of those people were near the end of their career and started retiring. And we had to go through a large hiring effort. I was part of that hiring effort. I came in 1985. And now if you fast forward another 35 years, that same hiring effort is going on now. Many of the people who hired in that second wave are retiring. We have over 27% of our workforce that is either 58 or is over 58. And those folks have done a great job getting us where we are. And they're all, many are starting to think about retirement, and we have to have trained up replacements ready to go. That's what we're doing. We are hiring a lot of people right now to make sure that we're prepared for that. Last year, that included 59 engineers and 37 new production operators. Those hiring numbers will continue over the next few years. We are building the workforce for the future, and we're making sure that the same safety culture that we got passed on to us gets passed on to them. Next slide, on slide 9, we know that community, we are part of the community, and that these large nuclear sites that are run by DOE, that they play a big role in the communities in which they reside. And so we live in these communities. We want these communities to be the best that they possibly can, and we want to do our part to make it that way. I'd highlight a couple of things relative to COVID response. We saw early on in the May timeframe that this was going to be a big deal, and we needed to figure out what we could do to help. One of the things we did was we sponsored a blood drive along with Amentum, because we knew that was going to be important. We ended up with 166 people that participated in that blood drive. In addition, we saw that a lot of people were going to be affected, and that there were going to be times when people were going to be out of work. We gave $25,000. $15,000 came from SRR, $10,000 from Amentum to the Golden Harvest Food Bank to try to help do our part to help those folks. Educational outreach is also a significant thing for us. We need, as we replace people, as people retire and we hire in the replacements, we need to make sure they have the right skills. And a lot of that comes through our technical colleges, Aiken Tech, Augusta Tech, Denmark Tech. So we support all of those schools, not just with cash, but we work with them on curriculum, making sure that their product, which is trained, educated workers, meets our needs. And they're doing a great job, and we enjoy working with them, and will continue to do so. In fact, I'm going to Denmark Tech this afternoon to talk with them about what they can do and what we can do to help be a part of this, the solution here. So community involvement is really important to us. Next, I'd like to highlight about, I'm going to highlight we picked 4 of major successes that have happened over the last year to really highlight some of the work. We could have talked a lot more, but I think these will give you the idea. I'm going to start with something called double stack. As I said before, DWPF creates these glass canisters, and they have to be stored. So we have facilities where we store them. There are 2 glass waste storage buildings. They were designed and built, and we've been putting glass into those buildings. And we realized early on that we were going to have to build another building in order to hold the entire amount that was going to be produced. Yet we came up with a creative idea. They were designed and built that there would be 1 canister in each position that was built. And we started looking at that design, said, can we put 2? Can we double stack them? Can we put 2 in each of those positions? It took some design change. It took a lot of testing and a lot of analysis, but the answer for the first glass waste storage building is yes, we can. And we're about ready to have almost finished the work to say that we can do that in the second one too. When that work is done, we will not need another glass waste storage building. That saves $130 million. Those are taxpayer dollars, your and my dollars. And so that's a great accomplishment. And we're on the verge of declaring that. We've already declared it in 1 building. The second building will be soon. On the next slide, we've had a great week out here in the high-level waste business. After over a decade of work, SWPF was ready to receive the first transfer. I can't say enough how proud I am and congratulate SWPF folks enough for all the work that they went through to get that facility started up. On Monday, we made that first transfer. That's the culmination of 15 years worth of work by a lot of people. Starting up unique, one-of-a-kind nuclear facilities is tough work. I've been through it a couple different times, and it's a great success. We are excited about the future and working with SWPF to progress our mission. The next slide is another one-of-a-kind nuclear facility. We started up and have been operating. This is the tank closure cesium removal system. Much smaller mission than SWPF, much smaller piece of equipment, but a unique facility, unique and first of a kind application of a treatment material that is being used to treat high level waste. And we did it all for $30 million in about 3 years. And that is the speed of light from the standpoint of operating high hazard nuclear facilities. Very proud of the team that put that in place. We've been operating it this last year and it's operating the way it's supposed to. It's a big success. The next slide is another creative idea. This was, we used to put saltstone into smaller, essentially storage units. And the idea was, why don't we, since we're going to do all of this work and we're going to have all this waste, let's make them bigger. And so we made them bigger. These are 32 million gallon saltstone disposal units. To give you an idea how big that is, a football field and stadium could fit into the inside of these containers. A football field and the stadium. A small stadium, not Clemson Stadium, but a small stadium. And so we've already built SDU 6. It's up and operating. 7 is about 80% complete. 8 and 9 are in progress. And then there will be 10, 11, and 12 will be coming. So the next picture just shows kind of what that will look like when we're done. And I guess I'd end with just a few final thoughts. I hope you can feel it, because this is exciting times for the high level waste program. I'm just excited to be a part of this. I'm lucky. The team that has put this together is incredible, and they're doing incredible work every day. The thoughts and dreams and sweat and tears that have been done by over these past 15 years are all coming to fruition here with the startup of SWPF. And it's going to allow us to operate at rates that we've never done before, 5 to 10 times faster than what we have before. And that lets us get our mission done quicker, which is to eliminate that hazard. And that's what we're all about. There's a lot of new things, and there's a lot of things that are changing, but there's just a few things that aren't changing. And that's that we will continue to be focused on our values, expectations, and standards. How we do the work matters. We will always do it safely, because if we know if we don't do it safely, we won't get to do it. And I just want to thank all of you for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil. That was excellent. We will have some time for some questions, so I'll kick it off. I think there's a couple ways that you can ask your questions. You can either just write it in the Q&A in the bottom, or I think there's an option where you can raise your hand and we can actually call on you, and I'll let Allison go through some of that details as we go. But my first question is, I guess, Phil, that it's such great news to see SWPF come online and transfer that first 4,000 gallons of waste over. Can you give us a little view of the timetable on when you'll start seeing some output from them, and then kind of the timetable of when we hope all the gears are going to be spinning wildly and everything going at full force? But can you give us a little bit of a schedule of the path forward?
Yeah. Okay. So it starts with the first transfer, which we made. We transferred about 4,000 gallons into SWPF, and they should really talk to that. This is the Parsons project, and it's their success. They designed and built that facility, and they've started up that facility now. That's a wonderful thing. But because we are so integrated with them, I know quite a bit about what their plans are. We will continue to transfer small amounts of material, thousands of gallons, to them as they go through their final testing and making sure that their facility, that everything operates the way that it's supposed to. And then that's going to take somewhere on the order of 3 or 4 months. Early next year is when we will start that first full year of operation for SWPF, and that's when our goal is that we will be processing millions of gallons next calendar year. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. We stand ready to support SWPF and to integrate that into our entire process and our mission.
Great, that's outstanding. That we've all been waiting for this for a long time, and unfortunately, I guess we're going to find out what the next bottleneck in the process is going to be. But that's a good problem to have for a while. So,
well, I tell you, I would tell you just to make sure that is a lot of what we have been doing over the last 10 years, which is to knowing that SWPF is going to start up one day and be successful, and knowing what the throughput rates are that are projected and its capability. We've been looking at bottlenecks, and we've been working on every one of those, making changes to the process in order to anticipate so that we can feed it at these higher rates. A great example of that I didn't highlight, it used to take months in order to qualify a salt batch so that it could feed through. So what used to take months, we put in an electronic process, a computerized process in order to help us do that much faster. And what used to take 4 months now can be done in 4 weeks. Okay, so that we can feed at a faster rate and continue to keep operating. That's just one example. There are tens of examples like that we've gone through. This team has done a really good job anticipating where the bottlenecks are and trying to work through those so that now, will it be perfect? We're human. We make mistakes, but there's been a lot of good effort that's gone in and a lot of actions have been taken.
Great. Thank you. Are there other questions out there? Allison, maybe you can field some of the questions.
Sure. The first question is, will SWPF operations be combined with SRR in 2021? And will a new ORR be needed when that happens?
So the answer, I can tell you what the plan is. This is really a DOE, it's DOE's plan, but the way that it is laid out currently is that after 1 year of SWPF operation, full operation, once they get through all the testing and declare that the first year is started, then at the end of that 1 year, it would be, SWPF would be integrated into the liquid waste contract so that there would be one contractor that would be operating the entire scope of the mission. So that's the plan. And I believe that plan makes great sense, and I believe that's what's going to be executed.
The next question is, how many saltstone vaults will be needed to complete the mission?
That's a great question. Currently, the plan is that we will go up to 12, SDU's 12. On the last slide that I had, it showed the artist rendering of where all those will sit. We've already got 6. The SDU 6 is already built and it's in operation. We've put grout into SDU 6. SDU 7 is about 80% complete. 8 and 9 are under construction. And as of today, the plan is that we will go out through 12, that there will be. So there would be a total of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's the number of mega SDUs that we would have.
So one of the next questions is, will there ever be an end to the cleanup mission at SRS if H Canyon continues to operate?
The answer is yes. The cleanup mission as we know it today will end. And what I would say is that cleanup mission, which historically has been millions of gallons of high-level waste stored for long periods of time in large tanks underground, some of which are in the aquifer, in the water table, that mission will end. We will finish that. They will all the liquid waste will have been converted to solids that are safe. We will have clean tanks, we will have grouted tanks, and there will be a cap over all of that. What will have to happen, depending on what mission it runs out of H area, there certainly will be byproducts, and those byproducts will have to be treated. But they would typically, the plan, I think, is to treat those in other ways. They won't go through the normal process that we historically now recognize as the high-level waste system.
The next question is, how are the melters performing at DWPF? Will DWPF need a major overhaul prior to mission end? Well,
DWPF is operating well and prepared to conduct the mission. We've been doing a lot of modifications in DWPF over the last few years in order to ensure that it is able to operate at the rates which are going to be required when SWPF comes online. So, other than the normal maintenance that we expect to do to maintain DWPF and the normal outages are associated with that, we wouldn't expect that there's any major outage type work to be done. You may remember we replaced a melter a couple years ago. As we go through the mission, the expectation is we would have to replace that melter because it comes to end of life again, and maybe a second time after that as part of completing this mission. So those kind of outages and that kind of maintenance will certainly continue, but DWPF stands ready to support the mission.
This is a change in topic, but for your workforce, what one skill are you having the most trouble finding among potential hirees? What's the one skill you wish a young person first coming in had that you're finding a lot of people don't?
Well, there's certainly some skills that are tight. I don't know if I can say that it's one. We're always able to get what we need. But the ones that we have to work hard to get are electrical engineers with power backgrounds. Those are clearly tight. And it's not only here, it's at every site that I've been at. Those are in high demand and hard to find. It's a result of, over the years, those engineering programs have converted to kind of the low power integrated circuits kind of work, not the high power kind of high voltage, high current type work that is still needed in all facilities, all major facilities operate. So that would be an example of one. Another would be IHs, industrial hygienists are always in high demand. So those would be a couple examples of people. Fire protection engineers, another one. We have trouble finding enough highly qualified fire protection engineers. So if you've got sons and daughters, these are all great disciplines to find and send them to school.
The last question that it has been typed in from the audience is, do you think you'll be able to increase the number of tanks closed in the next few years? Oh yeah,
that's what this is all about. I mean, that's our mission. We're gonna dissolve the salt. We're going to move and remove it and process it through SWPF, and the products from SWPF go to DWPF or to Saltstone. We're going to get the liquid out of the tanks. We're going to get the sludge out of the tanks. That sludge will process through DWPF, and then we're going to clean the tanks and we grout the tanks, and we close the tanks. That's what we do. And yes, now that SWPF is in place, the stage is set. The pieces are in place for us to make tremendous progress over the next 10 years.
Great, thank you. Thank you for those that information and those answers. Are there any other questions? I think it looked like that was the last one that was typed in. One more call for any other questions to go to Phil. If not, I would like to thank Phil so much for what a great talk and what a timely talk. This has been as you said, a tremendous week, and we hope it's the beginning of a super partnership with SWPF and SRR tanks and making a lot of glass. As a glass guy all my life, I can't wait to see us make oodles and oodles of that stuff. So thank you again, and thank you all for joining us. This is where we would give Phil his ceremonial coffee mug, but we'll give an IOU on that one and give it to you when we meet again.